Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Will this be bold?
Oh, yeah. Phillies are awful bold right now. Playing well.
Oh, the Phillies have been terrific.
Yeah, they've been
all the way through. Starting pitching is terrific.
Suarez has been incredible. It's just absolutely. I've
been a big Ranger Suarez guy for a long time.
Yeah, I've always felt like he didn't get the credit he deserved, and it's just showing this year.
Long time. I mean, I go back maybe this is like the third year where I've kind of looked at him and thought this guy's a difference maker. And is he a number one? No, but he's a difference maker, and he can do it in a lot of roles. So let's start with a couple of things. We'll just briefly touch on the playoffs here to start out. We'll start with the Knicks and the Pacers. The Knicks are out of gas.
Yeah.
They've been playing 7, sometimes 8 guys. And in the playoffs, they're hard minutes. Playoffs bring with them the hard minutes where you really are the exertion at both ends of the floor. The fact that you have to take care of every possession, and that wears on you both physically and mentally. They look like a team totally gassed yesterday against Indiana. Give Indiana credit. Of course, they're playing more people, but but Indiana's the one that on its home floor played so much better. The Knicks need to go back to Madison Square Garden now, and let's see if these role players that have to play so often, because role players, above all, we talk about a home court advantage. Home court, home ice advantage usually benefits the role players. Stars are stars because they can play anywhere, anytime, any environment. It's kind of like your career, You have no idea what I just said.
Yep, I'm getting you. I'm agreeing with you, but I also feel like
I'm saying your career.
Well, you
can go anywhere.
I've been a role player for years.
You're a star.
Yeah,
you're a star,
role.
right? But a role player gets themselves elevated by home court, home ice, home field,
no doubt,
whatever it may be. They play better in that environment. Star plays well anywhere. And the Knicks right now are playing a lot of role players, getting back to Madison Square Garden, and this is the whole ball of wax. Game 5 is the one. If the Knicks don't win it, they have a huge problem going to Indiana.
I think it's over.
Nuggets and Timberwolves. Kyle last week said that the pressure was all on the Nuggets. I said no, the pressure's on the Timberwolves. I said, when you have the defending champ that knows how to win 16 games in April, May, and June, and I said, when you have a chance to knock them out, you go for the jugular and you knock them out. Don't let them breathe. Well, the Timberwolves have allowed the Nuggets to breathe. Jamal Murray's back. He's playing well. Not great, but he's playing well. Christian Brown is playing well. Jokic is Jokic. But Edwards was tremendous in last night's game. Tremendous.
44 points.
And really just played great, both ends of the floor. But again, as I said last week about Karl Anthony Towns, we hear about Cat all the time. Cat. I've always looked at Cat and said he's halfway between good and great.
Yeah.
Right? He is not a superstar. Right? So he's halfway between good and great. He can give you a superstar night, and he can give you an okay night. Last night, another okay night. He only had 13. Somebody said, well, he had a double-double. I said, double-double? You're playing 48 minutes. I would hope a guy that size can get 10 rebounds in a game with all the missed shots that are out there. I'm sorry. He can't hold up against Jokic. He can't. And that's that's unfortunately the way it is. And Gobert is very much 70% of Gobert's game is a defensive player.
Absolutely.
30% offensively, maybe 35, 65, something like that. I mean, it's not like he can't play offense. He can play offense. He's not a great free throw shooter. But now they go back to Denver. Nobody has won a home game in the series. Nobody. And now we're going to find out whether the defending champs go home and they have the killer instinct.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to find out whether they do. All right. And that's the story on that one. Now, everybody else, Oklahoma City and Dallas, that's going about the way I thought it would go to this point.
I thought it was going to be a 7-game series. Yep.
They're really evenly matched. I was listening to the Oklahoma City broadcast because I was in the car the other night driving. I had to do a lot of driving last week. I had to go out to near Ohio to Newcastle one night to speak on Tuesday, and then I was in Philadelphia on Thursday night. So I've listened to some games driving back, and the Oklahoma City broadcast, a lot of complaining. He's like, oh, man, they complained a lot on that broadcast about a lot of different things, about calls, lack of calls, everything else that goes with it. Like, okay. The bottom line is that Doncic is a major matchup problem. This is, Irving, of course, has been around the block. This is where you're wondering whether the youth of Oklahoma City is catching up with them, even though they're a 1 seed. Alexander's a terrific player. Holmgren's a terrific player. I mean, they have a nice team.
Yeah.
Then there's the Celtics and the Cavs. Donovan Mitchell played out his backside the other night. He was great. The problem is that the role players who stepped up in Game 2 on the road, the role players on the road stepped up and played well. It was the Celtics role players who stepped up. And again, the Celtics are playing out without Porzingis.
Right.
But Drew Holiday played great. White's now slumping after carrying them in the Miami series. But, Brown and Tatum did enough. They're up 2-1. They win tonight, 3-1 going back to Boston. So for Cleveland, this is one of those, it's not a must-win, but it's a really nice one to have. And you go from there.
They've got to get Darius Garland consistently going.
But again, he's not a consistent player.
But he is a guy that can score 40 if he can. That's where I think you've got it. Yeah, he's a
superstar. Good, right?
He's in between.
Halfway in between. So he can give you the superstar performance,
which they need from him. And they've got to get him going. He's been,
or he can give you a performance. He was the other night, and that's where they are.
That won Game 1 too.
So the Bruins last night. All right, let me start with this. Florida won the game 3-2. Bruins jumped out to a 2-0 lead. But even when the Bruins were leading 2-0, Florida was outplaying them. So let's just say for the 60 minutes, the better team is the one that won the game. All right. But you know what my qualm has been about officiating? It's been about the replay, guys. I don't understand sometimes whether it's doing a Penn State football or basketball broadcast or now watching this play out in front of us, what they are looking at. So the Bruins are winning in the third period 2-1. Now, again, Florida is outplaying them. Territory, shots, the whole thing. I mean, the Bruins just, the Bruins can't clear the puck. They're not very good at it. They don't protect their blue line. Right? They don't do that. So there's a lot of things about them they aren't doing well. But this, I was so baffled by this. Okay, so live, Bennett gets the puck, knocks it in the net, ties the game at 2. And Charlie Coyle is laying on top of Jeremy Swayman. Like, okay, how did he get there? You watch the replay. He gets cross-checked, 2 hands on the stick, into the back, and knocks him into the goalie. Right? So the Bruins challenge it. I'm watching this thing, well, that'll get overturned. No, stands is called. Stands is called. And they are allowed in the NHL to call a penalty on that play. They could have called a cross-check on that play. And they didn't do it. Like, well, then why bother replaying it? Not only that, because the Bruins challenged, they then became shorthanded for 2 minutes because they lost the challenge. Like, what are we doing here? Why bother having the system? It's one of those where you sat back and like, it's obvious what happened. Now, does Florida still win the game? They may win the game in overtime because they would have, they could have scored another goal, tied the game. Again, Florida territorially and pace of play outplay the Bruins all night. Even when the Bruins were up 2-0, Florida was still outplaying them. So that's not a case of which team played better last night, lost. The Bruins did not play better last night than Florida and lost. But why bother having the replay system if that's going to be the result? I sit there and go, I don't get. And I've complained about the replay thing for a long time, like on field, on ice, on court. I get it, okay? I get it. It's fast. They have to make quick decisions. I have a lot of respect for the on-field guys. I have a real problem, and have for a long time, with the replay guys. Like, what are you looking at? Like, I don't get it. And that's, I don't know. The better team is up 3-1.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? So it has nothing to do with that. They just are better. Just like I think Vancouver's now up on Edmonton 2-1. And tonight the Rangers will play Carolina at the Garden up 3-1. And then, of course, Dallas has to play Colorado. And Dallas is up 2-1 in that series. They won at Colorado. But I see calls like that. I'm thinking, why bother having the replay system? I don't get it at all. I don't. Because there's certain things where you sit back and go, well, that's pretty obvious.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was obvious, right? Now, I know there's a lot of bumping and everything in front of that. I've got that, right? So it's one thing if, like, you're watching it and it's not challenged, or pre-challenge days, like on, oh, wow, we got away with that one. Okay, well, that, you're not happy about it, but you have a challenge system. Why bother? Why bother? And no goalie interference on the play. The official ruling from the NHL Situation Room was that video reviews supported the referee's call on the ice that the shove by Sam Bennett on Charlie Coyle and the subsequent contact with Jeremy Swayman did not prevent Swayman from playing his position in the crease prior to Bennett's goal. Are they serving alcoholic beverages in Toronto? What are they doing? Right? Okay. Coyle's laying on top of Swayman. Swayman can't get over there to make the play because he's laying down on him. If a defending player has been pushed, shoved, or fouled by an attacking player so as to cause the defending player to come in contact with his old goaltender, such contact shall be deemed contact initiated by the attacking player for the purposes of this rule. And if necessary, a penalty is assessed to the attacking player, and if a goal is scored, it would be disallowed. Other than that, Coyle is not going, like, his momentum is not taking him into Swayman on the play. Okay? What got him to Swayman on the play was being cross-checked in the back. Right. I mean, Swayman said, he said, the fact that Coyle was pushed into me, I couldn't play my position. In the moment, I didn't know exactly what happened. I just know I couldn't play my position, and the review showed that. Jim Montgomery, to his credit, calmly disagreed with the call. He said, they ruled, again, this is under the category of I don't want to be fined. But my point is, why bother having it when you have something like that? And again, right. Did the better team win the game last night? Yes. Did the team that outplayed the other team, I'd say they outplayed the Bruins like 70, 75% of the time, win the game? Yes. Okay? So this has nothing to do with, but you see something like that, and it goes back to something I've complained about before. Okay? I don't understand when you've got time to do it, and it's the only game being played, so they've got everybody in the room that can look at it.
Yep.
It makes no sense to me.
No.
None. So now let's get to Urban Meyer. Boy, he doesn't really like you a lot.
That's all right. He has yelled at me at a press conference before.
I know
He's done that.
No, he can't stand you.
That's all right. That's all right.
But
there's a reason his last name rhymes with liar, but that's all right.
Oh, listen to you. It's no wonder he doesn't like you. Jeez. Oh.
I don't think the folks in Jacksonville think much of him either.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, but
Jacksonville,
we've checked
Gainesville.
We have checked the ratings, though. We've checked the ratings. He loves the Jerry Valeri show.
Hey, that's all right.
Meanwhile, Great Osibor is going to go to Washington. Ooh, Mountain West Conference Player of the Year from Utah State. He's going to join his coach up there, Danny Sprinkle. Wow. Well, he'll be in the Jordan Center. But. Oh, before we get to, I'll just make a quick note. You know, Bronny James is going through the NBA. He's been medically cleared to play in the NBA. It's like, hey, it's his life. He can do whatever he wants. But remember, Dad chided everybody. Let the kid be a kid. Hey, Dad, you're the one that's been pushing him.
Yeah.
Right? You've been pushing his name all over the place. The Urban Meyer story. Then I want to get to Cal and UCLA. I mean, the Cal UCLA thing is disgusting, I think. But I'll get to that in a moment. It's to me it's I don't know the California Regency and how it works. I'm not going to sit there and pretend in Pennsylvania I know how it completely works, but we'll get to that in a second because but Urban Meyer was talking about NIL. And in talking about NIL, he feels that you couldn't have held off.
It's trying.
You couldn't have held off. I mean, really, what are you doing? He says that he likens NIL to cheating. Okay. That's not what its intent happens to be.
No.
He says, if you're a women's basketball player like that great girl from Iowa. Okay. All right. I know. Okay. All right. Which, of course, he means Caitlin Clark.
Yes. That was a real good one played at UConn. He narrowed it down by saying that one.
No, yeah. And they want to put her on a billboard and pay her. They should be able to do that. But that's not what happened during his interview with Lou Holtz. What's happened is the arms race of collecting money from donors, and the donors are simply paying players. That's what I understand is happening, and I don't like that. If Lou Holtz or Urban Meyer or Marvin Harrison Jr. or C.J. Stroud, they want to go use their name and help sell cars, help a business, that's great. But to have a 17-year-old demand money for a visit, to pay these players a lot of money to go visit a charity for 20 minutes and they write you a check for $50,000, that's cheating. That's not what it's about. I'm very disappointed about where it went. No offense, but like on the charity part,
yeah,
it's charity for a reason.
Charity for a reason, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
He argued that NIL is great, but once it became capitalism, that's where he had issues. Said there's these things called collectives where they go out and get money from donors and get this big, giant mass of money and they pay the players. That's not what the intent is. Okay, so let's start with this. There are a lot of people that feel exactly the way Urban Meyer feels.
Yeah.
All right? This is why we'll take it a step further. As I've said so many times, hey, I'm Drew Aller here for Pick Car Dealership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay? We're the Penn State offensive line. You know, we're doing a TV commercial for said restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Of course you should get paid for that. Penn State puts you up on a billboard to have you, to sell season tickets. You should get, that's your name, image, and likeness up there.
Yeah.
Okay. So all those things are legit. Cost of attendance was meant to be the walking around money of the 21st century. I remember having Jim Delaney on the show, and he and I were kidding around about when he played at North Carolina, they got $15. Right? He said, and we kind of thought that was a big deal, Steve. And I remember Joe referring to the $15. Joe referred to it as laundry money or something like that. It was $15. What, a month? I think it was a month. I don't think it was a week.
I don't think so. No, I think it was a monthly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was a week.
I think it was like $15 a month. It was like, and Larry was like, hey, this is great. All right. Then they took it away. It's like, okay, he took it away. And now, of course, cost of attendance was meant to be that compromise. And that's not, of course, where the system is now. We keep going back to the same theme over and over again. And the same theme is simple. As often as the NCAA has testified before the House and the Senate, the House and the Senate in Washington right now are not in the mood to pick it up because they have other issues that they're dealing with. They just voted, for example, on funding for Ukraine, funding for Israel, funding for Taiwan. They have at some point before this, I think is September 30th, the federal government fiscal year. It's October 31st or September 30th. It's one of them. It's in the fall. They have to have the budget done. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Now, it may need a continuing resolution or something like that. But, I mean, these are the issues that they're dealing with on an everyday basis. Okay. And they're not, especially in an election year, where everybody in the House is up for election. 1/3 of the Senate is up for election. They're not in the mood to take on this issue right now. So that is a stall in getting an umbrella nationally over name, image, and likeness as a federal government solution. All right. Well, why don't you sit down and after the House case is negotiated, right? And they're negotiating right now. Sit down with whatever group, whether it's athletes.org, I think it's one UAB went with, and there's another one out there. Somebody has to end up being the negotiating arm for the players that they choose. Sit down and then hammer out an agreement. here are the parameters on name, image, and likeness. Here are the parameters on the transfer portal. Here are, where everybody's in agreement. And then, okay, we're going to do this, and guess what? You're allowed to do player contracts. Here's the language that needs to be in the player contract. It's where lawyers work it out. And they should be making steps in that direction now. Okay? The House case will take care of itself. The House versus the NCAA. And you already have lawyers working on that right now. Okay? They're in a settlement room right now, working this out. Now, it's going to cost athletic departments. Sounds like the NCAA wants to pick up the past amount, which is like $2.5 billion or something like that for the athletes from 17 to 21, whatever the time frame is. But currently, they're talking about $15 to $20 million per year that athletic departments will have to allocate money for from this, based on this settlement on a per year basis as the top out number. Look, you're sitting there at Coastal Carolina, you're not putting out $20 million.
Right.
Okay, you're not putting out $15 million. At Coastal Carolina, you may be in a conference where the conference says, hey, you're allowed to put out $5 million per school because they can't afford it. They can't afford $20 million a year. They'll put them out of business athletically. You can't do it.
Right.
Now, can Penn State handle it? Yes, Penn State can handle it.
Sure.
I already know that they can.
Yeah.
Right? But that means moving forward, okay, this is not a one-time payment.
No.
This is going to be an annual basis that 15 to 20 million has to be in there. That makes it more imperative to get the stadium where you need it because that's your primary, football being your primary moneymaker. And you need to have that stadium in place for decades to come. And part of it's going to be how you use that stadium to help pay for this. Now, I also have another partial solution to this as well. All right? And this is something that the rules need to be amended in the NCAA to do this. But I think something that would go a long way to help paying for it would be exactly what the pros are doing right now. Okay? You watch the Boston Celtics play. What's on their jersey? Vistaprint. Oh, really? Right?
Yeah.
The Golden State Warriors. Rakuten. Right? The New York Yankees.
Yeah.
Okay? The New York Yankees on their pinstripes on the sleeve have a patch.
Yeah.
Okay? I know Nike's on there already. Or if it's certain schools, it's Adidas, some are Under Armour. That's already there. Who's to say you can't put a patch on there where you have sold?
I think we're going to have that at some point.
And you take that money and you allocate that money toward athletes. Yeah. It won't make up the full 15 to 20 million, but it'll make up some.
Yeah.
But that stadium becomes more important than ever to not just the atmosphere of it, but the financial money-making capability of what you need to do to make up for something like that. And that's something that moving forward, you have to be forward thinkers in this. That's why in a forward-thinking mode, you need to get the House case settled, but at the same time, you need to be working on, okay, who do we talk to and who is going to negotiate, quote, for us?
Yeah.
This is where Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti need to be the ones to step up to the plate and look around and say, look, you know what? We got to get this worked out, okay? For the good of the game. We've got to get it worked out and worked out quickly as to what the parameters are on NIL and what are the parameters on the transfer portal. Because let's go back to this. Because the fans also need to know. The fans, it's not just that the athletes need to know. It's not just the schools need to know or the athletic directors. The fans need to know. Because they're dealing with the Wild West right now, and they don't know how to react to all this. Some have jumped in with both oars, some have jumped in with an oar, and others are staring at the boat. Okay? Because they don't know what to make of it. The system is so different than it was just even a few years ago. collective bargaining would bring with it a semblance of stability and a structure that will be great for the universities and athletic departments, great for the athletes because they're going to get something out of it, and great for the fans so they know what the system is that they're dealing with and what they're donating to. Okay? And part of the structure that you put together levels the playing field. Instead of the Wild West where it doesn't feel like the playing field's level.
Right.
So is it cheating? I don't see how it's cheating. It's within the rules.
It's within the rules, and you're really, yes, financially you aren't, but technically, if we're just talking technicality, it's a level playing field. So you're not really. So you're not.
As I pointed out when this first came out, was it 3 years ago now?
Yeah,
3 years. So we're talking about it 3 years ago. And Penn State started out behind the philosophy behind what Penn State did did not match up with other schools. Okay, but now that in a mode of catch up, they've been catching up, but they aren't there yet. But they've been catching up, so they need more help, no doubt. But I said that here's where the advantages were going to be. I said the advantages were going to be with a place like Ohio State. Look at the corporate entities in Columbus.
Yeah.
I mean, just the basics. Nationwide Insurance has their corporate headquarters there. Wendy's has their corporate headquarters there. They aren't the only ones. Plus the hospital system there. Right. I mean, they've got a lot going on in the largest city population-wise in Ohio. Okay. So they have some built-in advantages of where the money is. Let's go to Alabama. Alabama, except for minor league teams, does not have professional sports.
No.
So what is the pro team in Alabama in terms of the mentality? The mentality is the pro team in Alabama is in Tuscaloosa. They own that state. As much as Auburn has carved out its spot, but Alabama owns that state. They don't have the Steelers, the Eagles, the Pirates, the Phillies, the Sixers, the Penguins, the Flyers. They don't have that within their own state to also compete with. They own the state. Texas. Oh, sure, there are pro teams all over the place in Texas. But the University of Texas football.
You're in a perfect location, too.
Right.
Perfect location.
Yeah. And last I checked, they have oil.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that stuff, that pan you put under your car. I saw you in the parking lot. I was like, I don't know what you're doing there. But yeah.
Yeah. And that's, I think when you first looked at NIL, I think one of the first teams that came to mind that you knew was going to improve drastically from it was Texas. I don't think there's any question about it when you look at it, and just knowing financially what they have, and also the location and the resources they have. Absolutely. Yeah, that was one that stuck out immediately.
Yep. So that's come to fruition the way we talked about it 3 years ago. 3 years ago this month we're talking about it. And I said there are going to be certain schools that are going to have built-in advantages on NIL. And those are the schools, some of the schools I pointed out, that already had built-in advantages. All right? Okay. Now I want to get to the Cal thing. Well, before I do that, I do want to drop in one quick note on Terrence Shannon. We all know Shannon is a lottery pick for the NBA in terms of ability.
Ability, talent, yeah.
Right? But as we pointed out in the NCAA tournament, that in May, he was going to have to go before a judge. And about the rape charge. And he has now been ordered by a judge in Kansas to stand trial on that rape charge. It should be pointed out that Shannon did testify, and when he testified, he said he never touched anyone. In the affidavit, the alleged victim told police Shannon pulled her toward him, put his hands under her skirt, touched her sexually. He said the bar was so crowded she couldn't do anything. Shannon pleaded no guilty pleaded not guilty and testified that he never touched her. Okay? So that's where it stands. But he is going to have to stand trial for it. And, of course, the draft is next month. Now let's get to Cal and UCLA. It has resurrected itself again. I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody that I have a complete understanding as to how the California education system works. I'm not going to do that because that would be wrong for me to sit here and pretend that I know. But the California Board of Regents met last week, and they're going to meet again Thursday, I believe. And this goes back to something we told you about in, I think it was December. We brought this up.
Around there, yep.
Okay. So the recommendation was originally, it was December. In order for, you think I forget things. In order for the regions to affirm UCLA's move to the Big Ten in December, the university agreed to pay UC Berkeley between $2 and $10 million because how the move would affect the Cal athletic program. Well, then Cal agreed to join the ACC after the Pac-12 could not negotiate a TV deal, causing 8 of the members to leave. There are travel costs. Cal will also have a reduced share of the ACC media rights deal. According to the University of California president, Michael Drake, the difference between UCLA's annual media rights distribution for the Big Ten and the Cal Berkeley share is approximately $50 million per year. Drake is also recommending that there is a significant change in revenue and or expenses for either school exceeding 10% over the 24-25 projections. So we talked about the 2 to 10 million range. What gets me is the original number was 2 to 5 million. That was the original proposal, and they expanded it to 2 to 10 million. Guess what Cal is asking for? Just take a guess. Be bold.
I already know the story.
They're asking for the 10 million.
Yeah, 10 million, yeah.
They're asking for $60 million over the next 6 years.
Span, yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So the Regents became involved shortly after the announcement when Governor Gavin Newsom criticized UCLA's move because Chancellor Gene Block and Athletic Director Martin Jarman did not give advance notice to the Regents. Well, guess what? They didn't have to. It's not in the rules. Okay? This part I do know. They don't have to. When it comes to an athletic team moving, they don't have to. They're making it up on the fly. I mean, what are there, 17, 18 schools? They're not all in the Pac-12. 2 are. The other 15 aren't. Oh, what, do they all sit there and vote? They all sit there and vote what Fresno State's going to do? Who cares? Right?
I like the generosity of making it over a 6-year span. That's the classic part of it.
Well, it's the length of the TV contract.
Yeah.
Right? So, besides the payments to its sister school, UCLA agreed to make further investments for athletes, including nutritional support, mental health services, academic support while traveling, and charter flights for reduced time. Okay, that's fine. From the very beginning, we said we understand we may need to help Berkeley. We're okay with it and happy it is resolved, Block said after the Regents approved the move. Well, they want $10 million per year? Hey, guess what? You're not very good. Okay? Even when Jared Goff was your quarterback, you finished under 500.
500, yeah. Aaron Rodgers was their quarterback. They didn't win the Pac-12.
No. You're not that good. Right?
No.
People don't go to your games.
No. Nope.
I mean, well, how will you know? I've done games at Berkeley.
No.
Right, the arena, the Haas Pavilion's very nice.
Yeah.
I've done 2 games in there. I like it. All right. But it's not the annual USC-UCLA game. When this whole thing came up with the Pac-12 and about UCLA and USC moving. This is before Oregon and Washington, obviously. All right. They said, what's it going to do to the annual USC-UCLA game? I sat there and I said, well, okay. So I went and looked it up. You know how many people had at the game? 36,000.
I was going to say probably 30,000. I was going to say
36,000 people. All right. 36,000 people. Okay? That's approximately 14 to 15,000 more than Penn State has in its student section. Right. What's it going to do to that game? What does it matter? And they want $10 million? The bottom line is the Big 12 didn't want them.
Yeah.
The Big 10 didn't want
them.
Because you have to have the ability. Now, saying that they bring nothing to the table is incorrect.
You got to move the needle.
Saying they bring nothing to the table is incorrect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. That's one of those bold talk show things. They bring nothing to the table. That's not true.
No.
Okay.
But
they bring something to the table.
I was going to say not enough to the table.
But they don't bring enough to the table where people are saying we need to have them.
No.
All right. They bring.
And in their defense, there's not even a handful of schools anymore like that.
Right. Right. I mean, they're an AAU school. They bring research dollars. They do that. But the athletic part of it, okay, well, they bring the San Francisco market. Okay,
you have the California market. Okay, you don't need.
Right. The San Francisco market is dominated by the 49ers, the Warriors. The Giants. Yep. Right. I mean, even the Sharks. Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, Stanford and Cal don't do that.
No.
Okay, they don't.
No.
It goes back to, we'll do the pie thing again. Everybody has a slice of pie. Right now it's divided up 18 ways. Okay. Well, whomever you add has to make the pie so much bigger that the slices of pie are bigger for everybody. When you go from 14 to 18, did the slices of pie become bigger for everybody? Did everybody get more money out of the new TV deal? They did. Okay? Mm-hmm. So it worked. Now, it was negotiated before Cal and Washington came in. So it's the 16. But Cal and Stanford would not have done that.
No.
Okay?
No.
And see, in the ACC, it's already showing.
Yeah.
Right? Because I already know that there are some ACC teams that are contacting Big Ten schools just on basketball scheduling. Penn State's been contacted by a couple of ACC schools on basketball scheduling. I'm not going to get into who that's up because I don't want to talk about.
Right.
Right. That's internal. But at least they've been contacted by them saying, hey, look, how about it? Because they need to increase their strength of schedule. The ACC last year, the actual conference schedule was not strong enough to get certain schools into the NCAA tournament last year despite really good records. So like playing at Penn State gives them some Big Ten domino to help in strength of schedule because they can't get it done in their own conference. And by adding Stanford, Cal, and SMU, guess what they did? They weakened the conference both football-wise and basketball-wise. They actually, the Big Ten strengthened itself with Oregon. The Big Ten strengthened 100%. Itself with USC. All right? In basketball, they strengthened itself with UCLA. Right? Washington, we all know what Washington's capable of.
Yep.
Right? Now, where they are, like with everything in flux, new football staff, new basketball staff, we'll see. But we know what they're capable of.
Yeah.
Okay? So the Big Ten strengthened itself with the 4 schools they added. The ACC did not. They drove down the strength of schedule in football by adding those 3 schools. They drove down the strength of schedule in basketball by adding those 3 schools. It's an issue. right? And they want $10 million. Like, you want $10 million. And the thing is, they're going to vote to give it to them. I'm telling you, I can't imagine. Like, I'd be sitting there saying, hey, guys, we need to compromise between 2 and 10 here, guys. Okay, let's go $6 million. That's halfway between.
Yeah.
I know you.
Between 2 and 10, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just want to make sure.
Yeah. Or you just between 1 and 10 go 5. That's the easy halfway point.
But the parameters were between 2 and 10. Right?
Yeah. Give them 5. They don't deserve 6.
Do I need to hold up flashcards? What are we doing here? Okay. Say 6.
Yeah.
We're done.
Even 6, yeah. Sure.
Right? It's halfway. The Cal people want all of it. For what? You agreed to go to the ACC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, the Big 12 didn't want them.
No.
Right? Now, the Mountain West would have taken them, but now you're talking about...
Now you're
talking literally...
You're not
in a college athletics point of view, you're talking pennies on the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right, so I understand that part. Right? And that's why I always love when I hear they should bring in Stanford. They should bring in to do what?
Yeah, and Bob Knight years ago.
I mean, no offense. I think it's great they won the beach volleyball national championship.
And they're arguing the academics, which
that's something you can't argue against.
No, you can't. But
you can't argue against that.
Yeah, Bobby Knight was blunt, got a lot of criticism. One of the many things he said that got a lot of criticism, but openly came out and said, "Hey, we generate this, this, and this. Who's going to generate that for Bloomington?" And he, exact words, some dork in the chem lab or my basketball school. As blunt as it is, what generates it is the sports. And he took a lot of criticism for that, but he was right. And then that's it could he have worded it 1 million times better? Did he have to use that example? No, but that's exactly right.
Every time Penn State is on national TV, and you see Beaver Stadium rocking out, that is a 3.5 hour to 4 hour commercial.
Completely.
Every week about how exciting your campus is.
Yes. Without question. How many recruits have come here sole purpose based on that primetime game in a whiteout?
Well, I'm talking about students.
Yeah.
Just attracting students.
Yeah. How many people have come here for that exactly?
Bobby Bowden said many years ago, so I'll use his quote because I think it's apropos here. Okay, athletics and football in particular are not the house, right? But it's the front porch.
Yeah.
Right? And
absolutely.
you look at the front porch and go, boy, that is some beautiful house, man. Check out that front porch. Man, that's really nice. I mean, it sticks out. And it makes you want to go see the house to buy it.
Yeah.
All right? And that's what athletics does. There's nothing else that the university does during the course of a year where you get a 3.5 hour, 12, 13, depending, 14-week commercial.
Yeah.
And you get 7 of them at your place that tell everybody who you are and how exciting your place is to be than athletics.
Yeah.
Same thing in basketball.
Absolutely.
Right? Duke is a tremendous academic school, and it's also private.
Yeah.
But boy, you look at Duke and you look at Cameron Indoor. How exciting is that place?
100%.
Okay? Students camping out to go in there in what was at one point called Krzyzewskiville.
Yeah.
All right? Just like we had Paternoville here. Okay? It's exciting. They show it. Like, wow, man, that's the way college should be. That's really cool. Look at that. Right? So now back to the chem lab. The chem lab is critical to what goes on here. It's
100%.
critical to everything in the academic mission.
Absolutely.
But nobody camps out to go in there.
Nobody can exactly.
Right? And national TV doesn't go into national TV doesn't go in to cover it.
No.
Right? And remember, you are not paying for that 3 to 4 hours on TV. They're paying you.
Uh-huh.
They're paying you to come in and show
Absolutely.
how exciting your campus is. Okay? The university is multifaceted with important missions across the board. Important missions across the board. Is athletics the most important mission? Nobody is saying that. But boy, it sure does do something to the rest of the house when you build a front porch like that and people say, hey, look, I mean, how much do you really... I'll give you a place where the academics have really improved, Alabama. Yeah. Alabama's academics have actually really improved, all right, along the way. But what do we all see with Alabama all the time? Now, he's no longer there, but like, here's Nick Saban, here's Alabama. It's going back. Bear Bryant. Mm-hmm. Bear Bryant, right? All the way back. And that's what athletics can do for the university.
Right.
They can open the door. This is the university in general. They can open the door on positive impressions of your university and your campus, which then opens the door for people saying, hey, yeah, you know, I'm one of the top chem majors in high school in the country here. You know, it's like, God, I love Penn State football too. Right? Instead of going here or here, so I love Penn State football. I can go to the games and I can be a chem major at Penn State. Right? That happens. Mm-hmm. That happens. And it doesn't mean, again, it's not the be-all, end-all. It should not dominate anything that the university mission is doing. But it's the one thing on campus that gets over 100,000 people to show up to it.
Mm-hmm.
A wrestling match gets 6,000 to 7,000 people to show up to it. A basketball game in the Jordan Center gets 8,000 to 10,000 people to show up to it.
Sure.
Right. Well, what else on campus are we having 8,000 to 10,000 people show up at?
Yeah.
Right. And there's nothing on campus where there's okay.
No.
I mean, it just opens up a lot of doors that are great for the image of the university.
Absolutely.
Right? Especially if it's done right. And I know we talked a lot about NIL, but you want to talk about doing it right? All those Penn State football players that went to the Dominican Republic last week, giving away shoes, helping out down there, something that isn't talked about often.
Yep,
right?
Absolutely.
Right? But they did it. Right? It's all part of the overarching mission. And look at all the players that do graduate. Football, basketball, they have degrees. Right? Graduation rate was up to, 92% last I saw for student athletes here. Right? That's great. It doesn't take anything away from anybody in the engineering, chem labs, anything like that. It doesn't take anything away from the hard work that they put in, the great job that the instructors and professors and doctors do over there. It's tremendous. That's why it's one of the top universities in the world. Okay? And it's nice to have in the fall that 4-hour commercial to tell you what a fun, exciting place it is to be besides just going there for academics. All right. Well, I endured another hour with you. Not really as